It's taken quite a while to get to this point, but I have one thing to say about it. I ain't never been this tired and lived over it. Welcome back, kids. This is the day we've all been waiting for, or at least I have. The ATC is installed. Everything seems to be working fine. And I have made a very good video for y'all this time. I know I say that every time, but man, this one is just packed full of information. It runs a little longer than others, but there's just a whole lot to talk about in here. The thing I'm most proud of with this video is there were some things about this install that I just couldn't find any information on how to do it online, not on YouTube or anywhere else. So I kind of had to work through two or three of those things, and I did, and it turned out great. But now, with this video, this information is going to be out here, and I'm proud of that. I want to thank PwnCNC for sending me this ATC. I really appreciate that, guys. And I thank y'all for all the support that you've given me through this whole ordeal and even before. So all of y'all have just really come through for me when I needed it. So thank y'all very much. Without further ado, let's get with this thing. I'm going to show you how I did this. All right. First, I want to show you how I set this up in VCarve Pro. I just created a vector 2.4 inches wide, 48 inches high. And on the thickness, I made a mistake there. I set it at 0.77, which was correct for the test piece of MDF that I used. But it turned out that the MDF on my QCW Wasteboard was a whole lot closer to 0.75. So that I did cut deeper into my frame, QCW frame, than I had intended for sure. Anyway, I'm zeroing off the material surface. I'm using my XY is set at the top left, and I just figured that would be easier since I'm starting my racks from up there, and then I'll be carving my way forward. All right, now let's look at how I set up the pockets for the racks. Started out with just a square, and let's see what the dimensions were on that. Okay, that was 2.37. I just measured my racks, and that's what they measured out to be, and that was perfect. Out of my 12 racks that I have, I would say at least 9 of those just fit in there perfect. They're just snug. And maybe 2 or 3 were a little bit more snug than I would have wanted, but it worked out just fine. So then I put a radius on the corners there, and it turns out that 0.25 is the exact same as the radius on those tool racks. So use 0.25, and I recommend you measure your own tool racks when you get those. Don't depend on my 2.37 being correct, because they are 3D printed, so there is apt to be some variance between those. Let me close that, and then on the circle, I just measured the tool holder part, and it was 1.15 inches. Plenty. That was perfect. I had no issues at all with that. And then on the Toolpaths over here, look at those. Well, you can see right off the bat, I did an array toolpath, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. But let me show you this first. On the tool rack, the square part, I set my depth at 0.5, but I wanted my racks to be countersunk into the wasteboard to give me that extra ½ inch of wiggle room between the bottom of my dust boot and the top of those tool holders when they're in those racks. And I hadn't seen anybody else do it that way. I was determined to keep my V3, and I have been able to make it work. with the dust boot adapter going under the X and then coming up behind the X gantry. I've got that tube there that I had to watch out for and make sure that I had clearance between the bottom of that tube and the top of those tool holders, and also from the bottom of the dust boot itself. So that extra half inch that I set those into the wasteboard did make a huge difference. So that worked out great. So let's go on down here. I use the 1/4 inch Uptown Jenny. Just cut it in 4 passes, half-inch depth. So let's close that, and then on the circle, which I just call inner hole. Of course, it's got to go all the way through. And there again, I made a mistake by setting that at 0.77. I should have went 0.75 because I did go through. I ruined a couple of router bits cutting these out because it got down into the aluminum, and also you'll see I also got into a couple of screws too, and that didn't help the router bit situation one bit. But we're going to cover all of that and how you can avoid that situation whenever you're ready to do this for your machine. So let's just say measure the thickness of your MDF on your wasteboard, and whatever that is, go with that. Do not go with my number. Don't just assume it's 0.75 because it could be different. So let's close that. Okay, I'm going to show you real quick how to do an array toolpath. I have my two toolpaths here, which would be the rack, which is the square, and then the inner hole, which is the circle. In order to make an array toolpath, we've got check marks in both of our toolpaths. Then you simply go up here to this array copy toolpath, click that. There you'll see both of my toolpaths there, the tool rack and inner hole. And this is where I define how many rows and columns I want. Well, I need 12 rows, so this will be stacked 12 deep through here, and one column. So, and as far as the gap between those, I just kind of played around with it, and that was the number I come up with. It looked right for me. I was wanting about a 1/4 inch space between each rack. I didn't want them butted up against each other, so I went with that, and it automatically put this name Array Toolpath 1 in there. I'm happy with that. So then you just hit calculate, and boom, looky there. There's our 12 rows and one column. Much, much simpler and faster to do it this way instead of, trying to copy and paste each one of those in there. So anyway, that's how you do that. Okay, welcome to my mess. Anyway, today I have been doing test runs on installing the tool racks in my wasteboard. I cut some practice holes here in this scrap piece of MDF. It's 3/4 inch. First one I did was 0.2, which is the actual thickness of that magnetic base. This one I cut 0.5, half inch, and this sets just below the surface of the MDF, and I think this is what I want to go with. All right, I've got my spindle back there, and that location is the very back left corner. That's as far back as it could go and as far left as it could go. I'm going to set my zero, my XY0, a 1/4 inch in from both of those extremes. So I'll do, on my X, I'm just going to come in to the left a 1/4 inch. 1, 2, that's pretty darn close. Okay, so I've come in a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to come forward a 1/4 inch. All right, Now I can zero those out. That is going to be where I start this carve, making these 12 holes for the tool holders. My Z is already set. I've set that with the probe block earlier, so it's good to go. And here you can see a preview of the 12 holes that I'm fixing to make. Okay, let me explain real quick the reason why I come in the 1/4 inch and come to the right a 1/4 of an inch. At that time, my thinking was I didn't want to start at the absolute back corner. I just, in my mind, I'm trying to avoid hard limit errors or whatever. So to me, it just made sense to give myself or give the machine a little 1/4 inch buffer zone, X and Y, and hopefully avoid any complications. And I probably would have been okay if I just left it at the upper left 0, 0, but I did what I did, and I'm glad I did that. All right, I'm going to go to work origin, which will be my 0, 0, which it was already right there. Rewind, and cycle start. There's a freaking nail in that hole. All right, it's a new day in the shop. Had time to think about this all night. Didn't do much sleeping because this was on my mind, but this is yesterday's work. I got these 4 pockets started. These 3 are finished. But what I was running into, and I did not anticipate, was screws that come in from the bottom from this rail here into the MDF. That's what holds it down. So right off the bat, I hit one there. I'm like, so that wasn't good. And by that point, it already messed up my upcut bit anyway. So I went ahead and let it run, and it come on down here and got into the aluminum frame pretty good there. And of course, that also helped mess up that bit. So we get on down here, and then on this hole, I hit another screw. So I just shut it down, got my chisel out and dug around that, and until I could get that screw out of there. And that's when I stopped yesterday. I'm like, this is not the way to do this. So slept on it this morning, come out with a new plan. So today I've already come out here and I stood my CNC up. I run the gantry all the way to the front. All the weight was up front. And then I lifted it from the back and just put a board in there, about an 18, 20 inch board in there to hold it, keep it propped up while I could get under there and take those screws out along here. So, and I took them out to right here because this is about where the last tool holder is going to be. So I'm pretty good. I think I've still got 1 or 2 screws left up here. And I'll replace all those that I took out when I finish up the entire process. All right, X and Y is zeroed out back there. Rewind, cycle start. And it's just rerunning what we did yesterday. Vacuum those out right quick. Yeah, I was still getting into the aluminum down there. Just barely. Take you over here. But it was enough to mess up the end of that bit, that's for sure, because you can tell it progressively started cutting rougher and rougher the further it went because that bit was getting dull. But I got my hole made. I can clean that up with a razor blade, and I'm fixing to be in business, I believe. So I'm thinking this would be a real good time for y'all to give me a thumbs up down below. I'd sure appreciate that. If you haven't already checked out the channel memberships that I offer, click that join button down below. That will not cause you to join. It just lets you review and see what the options are on the different levels of membership. This was the only half-inch drill bit I could find with a 1/4-inch shank. So I bought it here locally, and it worked, but it definitely wasn't the best option. I knew it was going to be impossible for me to drill those holes out just with a hand drill because it's so close to the edge of that aluminum. So that just wasn't going to work. So that's why I used the spindle to do it. And that part was great. But you can see that drill bit kind of walking because it was really too long for this use. But, you know, it worked anyway. So it is what it is. Although those two videos aren't synced up, you can tell I was using the MPG pendant to raise and lower that drill bit. And here I just used my Dremel to kind of smooth up the edges on those drilled out holes and enlarge them a little bit too. So they ended up being a little bit over a 1/2 inch, which is great. And I may have to come back later and enlarge them even more, you know, depending on what bits I decide to add to my tool racks in the future. But anyway, the Dremel worked fine. All right, here I am setting the coordinates for each tool rack in the Masso. So I've just finished doing that one. Move over here, and then I'm just using my MPG pendant to just get it centered up. I'm just eyeballing it. I already know the X for mine, and the X will be the same for all 12 of my tool holders and the tool setter, which is right there. So that looks to be centered up. Then I'll just lower my spindle down in there. Okay, I'm a little bit too far back. Move it up just a hair. Let me show you what I'm looking at. So I'm just moving my Y with the MPG, and I'm just eyeballing it in the center of that holder. When I think I'm close, I'll just lower it down in there. That is going in just perfect. So now I can go back over here to the Masso. So I'll write that down, and then we'll come back later and enter that into the Masso. This is just one of those things. I don't think there's any quick way to do it. You just right now accuracy is more important than speed. But if you have the MPG pendant, it does speed this process up. Because I can stand right here and look at it and know know exactly where I'm at. That looks good. Yep. All right. Then I'll go over here and write that down. I'm a little far back. Right there. And I've got my MPG set on the X100 speed. That looks good, sounds good, feels good.
That's what she said.
Go here and write this one down. And we'll just continue this until I get all of them done. So now we're going to go into the Masso and set the locations of our tool racks. So we're going to go into F1, Tool Changer, Linear Tool Changer Type 2. And this is where we're going to enter the tool racks. So you can see it's showing 4 tool racks, but I have 12. So in order to change that, right up here, you have the little up and down button that's tiny and hard to touch, but you just tap the up button and it'll just add those slots. So just like that, I was able to add up 8 more slots, and now I'm up to 12. And then to enter in our numbers, our locations for the X and Y, I'm going to use the keyboard so y'all can see better what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be typing in the numbers that I had written down on the previous step. So the first thing, all of my X numbers are exactly the same because mine are in a straight row running along the Y. So, and it's 1.4567. And then I can just hit tab on the keyboard, zero that out. That number is 46.8850. Then I hit my tab. So slot number 2, we already know what that is. 1.4567, tab, delete or backspace, 44.37630. Tab, backspace, 1.4567. Tab. This one is 41.83930. And I'm just going to continue on until I get all 12 of my coordinates in there. If y'all have a Bluetooth or wireless keyboard for your computer, all you have to do is plug that transmitter into the open USB port on the Masso, and you can use your keyboard on here just like you do with your PC. All right, we got all those in there. Now we have to determine the tool holder Z clearance. So let's just get out of here and save what we've got in there. Save, save. And first thing you want to do is check your tool setter and make sure it is not turned on. So no checks in either one of those boxes. Save that. Then we have to home the machine, and this is an important step. So let me move the camera. All right, we're homing. And this is why you don't want the tool setter on right now. We just want it to come to the front and the zip in the home position and stay there. And then what we're going to do is go in here and we need to zero out our Z. And you can do the X and Y too, but anyway, the Z has to be zeroed out before we do this next part. So we've got that. I'm going to jog over to the tool rack. So let me move and what you want to do, you got to have your longest bit. The longest bit that you have in your racks, that's what needs to be loaded up right now. And you just want to center it up over your tool rack. Slow mine down here. And just get that bit down there close. I'm going to go to step mode, 0.1. Come down maybe one time. Right there. That is almost touching. All right, so right now, we know that my tool racks, the top of my tool rack is at minus 1.2. So now it just depends on how high you want to set that Z height above your tool racks. I think ½ inch is probably good enough, but you can make it an inch to be super safe. And I think that's, I think that's what I'll do. I'll set it an inch above. So I've got my step mode set on 0.1, and I'm just going to bump it up 10 times, and that should be an inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that puts us an inch above the tool racks. Then we check that number in here, and that number is minus 0.2057. So I'll make note of that. Minus 2057. So let's go back in setup, tool changer, and that number is minus 0.2057. So there we go. And then you hit your save and save again. And that's it. We've set our tool holder Z clearance height. Okay, so now let's talk about what for me was the most frustrating and difficult information to find. We need to set the pick and place Z position. And there's just simply not a lot of information out there on how to do this. So this is probably the part of the video that I'm most proud of, because this is going to save y'all a whole lot of time searching on the internet trying to find this answer. So what the pick and place Z position is, it's simply the height that the spindle needs to be in order to release or engage the tool holder and lift it out of the rack. So let me show you how to do this. Okay, the first thing you need to do is home your machine and zero out your Z. That's very important. So when you're in home position, spindles all the way up, set that to 0. Then you're going to jog over to your tool rack and center up just one of your bits in that tool rack above it, like I have right there. And then you just ease on down in there like this. All right. And then when you get close, go ahead and switch over to the step mode. And I'm going to be using the 0.1. So I'm just going to go down in there just a little bit. 3. All right, now that looks pretty close to me. So with my manual tool change button, I'm just going to hit it and see if the tool will drop. And it did. That's the easy part. It'll drop from any height. What we have to determine though is at what point can we pick it up. So we're going to ease down a little bit more. Still in the 0.1. 1, 2. So let's just test it from right here, for example. I'll just hit the button. And I know it didn't do anything, but I can test that by just going up a couple times. 1, 2. And the tool holder didn't move. So I'm going to go down 1, 2. Now we're back where we started. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see if it'll grab. I don't think it did. Let's test it. Going up. 1, 2, 3. Nope, the tool is still sitting there. 1, 2, 3. Back to where we were. I'm going to go down 3 more. Test it again. Did it grab the tool? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it did not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm back where we just tested it. I'm going to go down 2. 1, 2. Let's see. Now that may have grabbed it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yes, it engaged right there. So go back down. 1, 2, 3. And my Z is minus 6.2293. So yours will be different than mine, but that's how you do this. Now let's go back over into the Masso and enter that information. All right, we're back in the Masso. Let's enter the pick and place Z position that we just determined in the previous step. And mine was minus 6.2293. And that's it. See it, save, and then it should work. So now let's talk about how to assign your tool to a particular rack. So we'll just go into our F4 tools and offsets. We'll just use this one here, which is the end mill 1/8 inch upcut from Bits and Bits. You can see I don't have it assigned to a slot yet, because like the one below it here, tool number 6, is in slot 11. Some people prefer to make the tool number and the slot number match, but you know, I'm a caveman, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to keep my numbering system the way it is because I like how I have my databases set up. So anyway, so we're in here in the F4. Let's just double tap this bit that we need to assign. And I know it's in the 12th rack, which is my most forward rack, closest to the front of the machine. And you can see it showing not loaded in the slot, tool in slot, not loaded. So here we just click on this, and this is where we assign the tool rack number. All those that are grayed out are numbers that are already taken. So you can't assign the same slot number to 2 different tools. So I know I'll need mine to be 12, so let's go down, and there's 12 right there. Slot number 12, save, and there you go. And this one, okay, we've got all of our tools in the Masso database. We've also got each one of them assigned to a slot in the tool racks. So now we need to set the offset for each tool. In order to do that, first thing you need to do is make sure, go to your F1 Auto Tool 0 and make sure both of these are checked. Enable Auto Tool 0 and only Auto Tool 0 when manually requested. And of course, those two over there are checked. So we just save that. And let's just pick a tool here. Let's see which one I have in there now. I have the 3/16 in there now. Well, let's say we want to do the tool number 14, which is my 1/4 inch downtown Jenny. So what we would do is go to your F2, your MDI, and then you would just type in the following code. So, and I've already been doing this, so I'm just going to tap mine right here, make it faster. But tool 15 M6, and what that's telling the Masso is M6 is change tool. So we need to change to tool number 15. We'll hit run, and we'll watch it over here, what it does. All right, it's putting down the tool that was in there. And now it just went and picked up tool number 15. All right, now it came back to the tool setter and paused there. So now we're going to go to tools and offsets, tool number 15, just double tap it. And mine already has the Z offset number in there, but yours, if it's the first time you did it, that will have all zeros in it. But in order to set your auto tool 0, there's your little button there, and it always looks like it's kind of grayed out. I don't understand that, but it's working. So let's just tap that, and when I do, get you over here, see, we'll just watch it over here. Auto tool 0. It measures that tool and automatically fills in the Z offset, whatever your measurement is. That just happens to be what mine is. Yours will definitely be different. So let's do another one. We'll save that. T11M6. So we're going to hit run. And we can watch it over here, and just going to go get tool number 11, which is the, I think the 3/16 inch. And it's going to bring it to the tool setter and pause there. So now we just go back into our F4, double tap on tool number 11, and there's the auto tool 0 option. Just pretend mine still says 000. So all I have to do is hit auto tool 0. It measures it and assigns that number right there, and then you just hit save. And you'll do that for each tool that you have in your tool racks. Okay, here is a quick 4-tool test carve that I've got set up. Go through them real quick. First tool is going to be a IDC Woodcraft the Beast, and it's just going to run a profile around this outside here, the rectangle. Close that. And the next one will be the outer circle is going to be cut with a 90-degree groovy genie. Close that. And then the inner circle will be the 60-degree groovy genie. All of these are profile cuts so far. And then the inner pocket, that's the only pocket cut, and that'll be done with a 1/4-inch uptown genie. So that'll be 4 tools in succession, and we're just going to see how this thing works. All right, I'm going to get this sent over to the Masso, and we'll do some tests. All right, let's do this. We're going to run the 4-tool little program that we just designed up in VCarve Pro. I've already sent it over here. I've got it loaded up. First thing I'm going to do is go to my work origin. And right now it has the 1/4-inch uptown genie in there, which we already know that's not the right tool. It'll need the beast for the first tool, but we're going to let the ATC handle that tool change and everything else. So let me make sure about something. Yeah, I've got auto tool 0 is turned off. So we shouldn't need that because we've already set the offsets for each tool in the Masso tool database. So we're just going to run this joker. Rewind, cycle start. And there is a few second delay. I don't understand why, but it'll kick up here and go do its thing. Going to drop that bit and go get the beast. And it should just come right up here and go to work. Yep, I hope. Perfect. All right, that was the first tool pass. Now it's going to go put that tool back up and go grab the 90-degree Groovy Genie to do that first circle. And there she comes. All right, now it's time to go get the 60-degree Groovy Genie. All right, one tool pass and one tool left. That's going to be the 1/4 inch Uptown Jenny. Oh man, that's it. Took a little over 4 minutes to do 4 tool passes with 4 tools. Awesome. That's it for this one, kids. I hope y'all learned something from that. I know I sure did. Before I go any further, I want to thank PwnCNC, number one, for this cool banner that they sent me. Very proud to fly the PwnCNC flag in my shop. And I want to thank all you guys at PwnCNC, Daniel Moran, Clinton Caraway, Chris Sedlock, Nick Sansone, and everybody else that has been so helpful and helped me to make this happen. So y'all just been so generous to me. And thanks for sending me the ATC. I had some concerns about that early on, and a lot of you will probably remember I posted a YouTube poll here a few months ago asking if you would be less interested or more interested or stay the same in my channel if I upgraded to a ATC. And it was like almost 90%, or it might have been 90% of y'all said you would be at least as interested or more so if I had the ATC. So I'm going to hold y'all to that. Don't y'all run out on me now. So I need y'all to stick around and share my channel, the links, and uh, also the memberships are available. Y'all need to check into that. There's like 4 different levels with different perks, and really check into it. I guarantee you, whichever one of those levels you join, you're going to get your money's worth out of it. I promise you that. Looky here, looky here. I went over 2,000 subscribers since the last video. I'm so happy about that. Thank all of y'all that helped make that happen. I appreciate you. And I believe that's it. So until next time, y'all take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Y'all, I finally won my first Dundie Award. I couldn't be more proud. So accurate.